This is where we would have a nice catchy intro song if we had one.
Yeah.
Okay, kids today are a lot more sheltered than they used to be back when we were growing up, because parents are overly protective and don't want to do anything that Dr. Phil or Oprah wouldn't approve of. And when we were kids, it was just like, go play outside, read this horrifying children's book that is going to scar you for the rest of your life, or go watch cartoons that are going to freak you out.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to talk about things that traumatized us as children and left us as empty shells of adults. The thing that traumatized me most as a child, and like when we came up with this idea to do this, it's the first thing that popped into my head, because to this day I am terrified of this group of people. My mom, when I was little, if I would ask too many questions of her, like if I would just keep asking questions over and over and over again, she would say, "You're driving me crazy, I'm going to sell you to Gypsies." And she would use this like a lot, like she would always threaten to sell me to Gypsies, and it was terrifying. Like I imagined them like coming on their camels and like tying me up and like dragging me behind them and like making me a slave. I didn't know exactly what a gypsy was, but I knew that it was not a place I wanted to go to. And so like now I'm still scared of gypsies.
The second thing that kind of traumatized me when I was little was my sister. We had this thing that was like a voice changer. My sister thought that it was a good idea to put it on the really low voice and pretend that she was possessed. So she would come in my room and she'd like start playing with it, and then all of a sudden she'd be like, "Chelsea, I'm possessed, help me, blah 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 blah," and I'd be like, "Oh my god," I'd freak out and I'd start crying and I'd be like, "Oh my god, bring my sister back," and it was so traumatizing. Like she would like think it's funny at first, but then once I started crying, she'd be like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry."
When I was probably like 5 or 6 years old, maybe younger, my aunt bought me this like stuffed animal doll thing, and it was for like, it went with a book, and the book was The Old Lady Who Swallowed the Fly, and like, you know, that sort of like, "Old lady swallowed a fly, I hope I don't die," or something. I don't really remember it because the book scared me. So when I got this like doll for Christmas, it was terrifying, and like it had like you put stuff in its mouth, and like you would like take the stuff out, and it would be like the horse that she swallowed, and then it would be like the cat that she swallowed. I don't really remember what she swallowed. She swallowed a lot of animals though, and I was so terrified of the gift that like I refused to accept, like I wouldn't take the gift. And so it's still in my aunt's house to this day, and I've like seen it recently, and it's still just as terrifying as it was when she gave it to me. And that was like scarred me. Like it was, the doll itself was pretty scary.
I just can't imagine like a company like deciding it was a good idea.
That was gonna be a successful product.
Like, yeah. This is the thing that like freaked me out the most. It's another book. It's called Bony Legs. So basically it's this like witch that lives in the woods, and she lives in this chicken leg house, and she likes to eat children. That's just, you know, that's just not good. This little girl comes along and she wants to find a needle and thread. She goes in the house, and the witch like wants to eat her, so she puts her in the bathtub, locks the door, and then like wants to eat her, but she like finds her way out. Like just the graphics of the book just was so terrifying.
I guess it's teaching you like don't talk to strangers because they might eat you.
It's the same author that writes the Magical School Bus books, and I was like, what? That's weird.
That's a pretty twisted mind anyway, though. They like go inside of each other.
Ooh.
Wow, wow. My grandma watches these videos.
Hey, Kristen's grandma.
Just like later in my childhood, when my oldest brother started dating his girlfriend, who is now my sister-in-law, they decided, or I'm sure she decided, that they were going to watch The Princess Diaries 2, and I owned it, but I had lent it to my next door neighbor. Even though it was right next door, I decided I was going to ride my scooter over there. I like knocked on their door and nobody was home, so I couldn't get the DVD, and instead of just like walking across the lawn to get back to my house, I was going to ride my scooter down their hill, or down like, their driveway was like on a hill. So I was like, I'm just going to go really fast down their hill. But the problem was they didn't have like a paved driveway. It was like stony and bumpy. Yeah, it was just like made up of rocks. And so I actually got about halfway down the hill, and I was like, no, I can go faster than this. I'm going to start farther back and like push off really, really hard. So I hit a rock and I flipped over the handlebars and smashed my chin. I like went down the hill. I smashed my chin. My mouth went like completely numb, and I had like brush burn all up my body. Like, I like left my scooter. I like just left it there, and I like ran home like crying. I ran to my house. Mom was like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" I was like, I couldn't even like move my mouth. I was like, I flipped over. She like, I just remember her taking me to the sink. She was like, "Just hold this ice in your mouth." I just remember seeing like blood dripping down. They opened the dentist's office just for me. This dentist come in, is like looking at my teeth. And that's why like I have one tooth that's like lower down than the other one. It like knocked it down.
When I was sledding down this little hill, actually, it wasn't even that big of a hill, at my dad's house. It snowed the night before, and it was like fresh snow, you know, you want to go outside and play in the snow. So my dad, he like warned me. He was like, "Chelsea, be careful, like that hill, there's like a dip before you go to the hill, and it's icy." I like ran up the hill forgetting that there was ice, slipped on the ice, and I fell, but I used my left hand to like hold myself, and I started crying and crying and crying, and my dad came over and he's like, "What are you doing? Like, what's wrong? Just get over it. It's gonna be
Rub
fine."
some dirt in it.
Basically like, whatever, Chelsea. Deal with it. And I was like, okay, whatever. The whole weekend that I was at my dad's, I kept on saying like, "Dad, it kind of hurts. Like, my hand hurts." And he was just like, "It's whatever. Just take some Advil." I went to my mom's on Sunday, and that night, like, I was in so much pain that like we had to go to the hospital. And it turned out that I actually fractured my arm. So now, like, I'm, like, super afraid of, like, ice and stuff. I absolutely hate ice so much.
The intro to Are You Afraid of the Dark, which was a show on Nickelodeon in the 90s, and it was, like, just the intro was, like, the most terrifying thing in my life. Like, as soon as that came on TV, I sprinted to the TV to turn it off. Like, it was terrifying.
I could never sleep at night. It's, like, getting me to sleep is like really, really hard, because I would always like see things and hear things, and it was like really scary for me. And I remember specifically, like, I had this red trash can in my room, and I remember like every single night I would like tell my dad, like, "I don't want that red trash can in my room." And he'd be like, "Why?" And I was like, "'Cause it moves. In the morning when I wake up, it's somewhere else, and it's not supposed to be there," and that would freak me out all the time.
Let us know what traumatized you as a child, and tell us whether it still affects you today, if you're still dealing with that or if you got over it. But seriously, imagine being sold to the Gypsies. That's scary.
That's scary.
This woman's probably gonna die because she swallowed a horse.
What does the book teach us? Really nothing.
Don't swallow flies, because then you're gonna die. Wasn't it like an old woman swallowed a fly, I bet she'll die? Like, it's just like, she's probably dead. I don't even
You were
remember,
looking forward to when she actually died. Oh, she swallowed the fly to like, or she swallowed the frog to catch the fly.
And then she swallowed like
the cat
to catch the frog. People that if you swallow a fly, you don't need to swallow other things, just let it come out naturally.